Hi, and welcome back. I'm Susan Lohman, the Crochet Architect. I have a series of videos planned for you on Mosaic Crochet. I have enjoyed Mosaic Crochet for so many years, and I'm very excited to bring you this series of videos so you can learn lots of different styles of Mosaic Crochet and be confident in your Mosaic Crochet projects. You'll be an expert in no time. There are several different styles of Mosaic Crochet, and I'm going to teach you the Overlay Mosaic Crochet style today, which is one of my favorites. I have a special technique for doing Overlay Mosaic Crochet, and that's what I'll be teaching you today. So let's get started. This is the swatch we're going to be making. This is Overlay Crochet, and before we start, I want to tell you a couple of rules for all forms of Mosaic Crochet. You want to use two contrasting colors, a light and a dark preferably. You want your yarn to be smooth. You don't want it to be bumpy because then that will obstruct the Mosaic Crochet pattern that's going on. The other thing is you're going to be using one color in each row. And this may look like you've changed colors across the row, but you haven't. You can tell on the back there's one color in each row because we just have stripes on the back. So let's go ahead and get started with our swatch here. We're going to start this swatch with 15 chains. And I do my chains loosely because I like to work in the back bump to have a smooth bottom edge to my pieces. So with whatever hook you find comfortable with the yarn that you pick, go ahead and do 15 chains. Now, in regular crochet, we typically work row 1 into our foundation chains. But I like to have the same number of tails on each end of my Mosaic Crochet piece, especially if I'm making a scarf, so I can turn those into fringe. So what I do on my foundation chain is I go ahead and I finish off my foundation chain and start row 1 brand new. So I'll chain 1, tighten that up, and I'm going to leave a long tail, because on each one of these rows, I want to have long tails to make into fringe. So I go for like 6 to 8 inches, whatever length fringe you like. Cut it a little bit longer because you'll always want to shorten it. Okay, so we can go ahead and start row 1. We're going to start with our slip knot. And we want to leave our long tail again. Now, to get that nice finished edge on the bottom, we're not going to work into the front of our chains. We're going to work into the back bump on the back of our chains. So let's go ahead and we will start with a single crochet. We're going to join with a single crochet because we have a slip knot on our hook. We'll do a single crochet in the back bump of that first foundation chain. And we're going to work a single crochet in the back bump of each foundation chain across. And you can see on the bottom of this foundation chain that leaves us a nice finished edge on the bottom, and that looks a little bit more polished and pretty on our patterns and our projects. So we'll just go ahead and single crochet in each foundation chain across in that back bump, and I'll meet you when I get to the end of row 1. Okay, here I am at the last chain of my foundation chain, so I'm going to work my last single crochet in the back bump of that chain. Now we're going to finish off at the end of every row. We're going to start and end each row, and we're going to have a nice long tail at the end of each row and the beginning of each row for our fringe. And I like to take that last little loop of my fastening off and tighten it up. So here is our row 1 with 15 single crochets, 1 worked in each of our 15 chains. Now this style of mosaic crochet, all of our rows are worked on the right side. We're going to take our light color now and put a slip knot on the hook, leaving a long tail, always leaving a long tail. Now row 2 is done with single crochets in the back loop of each stitch across. So we will join with a single crochet in the back loop only of the first stitch, and we will single crochet in the back loop only of each additional stitch across. We typically insert our hook under the front and the back loops, but in this style of mosaic crochet, we insert our hook under the back loop only for all of the single crochets that we work in this mosaic crochet style. So I will work in each of these stitches across, and I will meet you at the end of this row, and you can do your single crochet in the back loop of each single crochet across and meet me at the end. Before we go on to the next step, I'd like to share with you some easy mosaic crochet patterns that you can make with this overlay crochet technique. These patterns are available on my website, and I have the links to them in the video description below. This is my flight of stairs scarf, and this is basically the pattern that we're doing in this tutorial with the overlay mosaic technique and some fringe. And this is my Crochet Mosaic Scarf pattern that I've actually designed for 2 different sizes of yarn. This one was a smaller weight yarn with a few extra rows, and this was a heavier weight yarn. And you can see that I have multicolor in here with the black. And this yarn I actually dyed myself many years ago, and I have a written tutorial for that, for dyeing yarn, on my website that you can download for free if you'd like to give yarn dyeing a try. Now let's get back to our mosaic crochet tutorial. Okay, here I am at the end of row 2, and I'm ready for my last single crochet in the back loop of my last stitch. And then we're going to fasten off just like we do on every row on this mosaic crochet style. Pull that through and tighten up that last loop. Okay, this is what rows 1 and 2 should look like, and this is the right side because you can see the top of our stitches. Now row 3 is going to start our mosaic crochet pattern. So what I have included in this video is a swatch, the chart for the swatch, and this is a free download on my website. The link is in the video description below, so if you'd like to print out this chart, go ahead and get that chart from my website and print it out, and you can follow along on your own printed chart. And I'd like to teach you how to read this chart. We have the row numbers here, and we have next to them what color they're done in. MC is the main color and CC is the contrasting color. So my main color is my darker color, which I've started with in our swatch, and the CC is the lighter color. Now every square represents a stitch, so there's 15 squares across in each row. And each one of these squares that has nothing inside of it is a single crochet in the row color. And like I said, those are all worked in the back loop. Now the squares that have a circle in the middle of them are an anchored double crochet, and that's where my mosaic crochet differs from a lot of other people's, is I do an anchored double crochet instead of a regular double crochet. That makes it a little bit stronger, and that eliminates gaps on the back. So These two symbols are the single crochet worked in the row color. So when you're getting to row 2 and you have different colored squares, they're all single crochets worked in that row color. The only reason why there's different colored squares in there is because the anchored double crochet is going across them. And I'm going to demonstrate that anchored double crochet. So when we have a square that is the darker color with the dot, that's an anchored double crochet in the main color. And that's the color we're using all the way across the row. And the next row with the contrasting color, we have some anchored double crochets as well. So let's start row 3. Let's move this over a little bit so that we have more room to work. And we're going to use our darker color again. That's our main color. We're always alternating back and forth between a dark and a light on Mosaic Crochet. So we will start our row again with a slip knot with the long tail for our fringe. And we're going to do our first stitch as an anchored double crochet. And in Mosaic Crochet, the way you get your pattern going is you do a double crochet down to the front loop of the stitch in the row below the previous row. So we're using our dark color, we'll be doing a double crochet into the front loop of some of these stitches on row 1 when we work row 3. But if we only worked in that front loop, then the stitch would be flopping around, and I've got a couple swatches here I can show you. This is what I worked up for my anchored double crochet video. And these two Mosaic Crochet swatches look the same on the front, but they're different on the back. This swatch has regular double crochets worked, and there's nothing anchored in these stitches here. So you get these gaps. And my way to eliminate those gaps is doing an anchored double crochet. And you can see in this swatch, there's no gaps. Everything is anchored. So let me show you how to do that first anchored double crochet in the row. The anchored double crochet, the anchoring section is done in the previous row in your opposite color. And on the first stitch, I like to go under the front and the back loops of this stitch for more security to make it stronger. So I go in that first stitch in the front and back loop and pull up a loop. And this is what anchors that stitch. Now the double crochet portion of the anchored double crochet is a yarn over, just like we do with a double crochet. And we're looking for the front loop here of the stitch directly below the one that we're working into. So we're going to insert our hook from bottom to top in that front loop, and we will yarn over and pull up a loop. And now you can see we have an extra loop on the hook where we would typically have 3 loops. With a regular double crochet, the anchored double crochet has this extra loop. So we'll finish our anchored double crochet with a yarn over and pull through the first 2, just like a regular double crochet. But then the second part is yarn over and pull through the last 3. So we have just joined with an anchored double crochet in the first stitch. So it's anchored right in there. Now on our chart, our next square is a white square without any dot in it, so it's the single crochet in the row color. So our next stitch will just be a single crochet in the back loop of the next stitch. All single crochets will be worked just in the back loop. And then our next stitch after that will be another anchored double crochet. That's in our row color, and that'll be in our next stitch. So because this stitch is not the first stitch in the row, I insert my hook in the back loop only. I don't need it to be as strong as the beginning stitch. So we start our anchoring here, and then we start the double crochet portion. We already worked a single crochet in the second stitch. This is the front loop of the stitch below the one we're working in now. So we'll insert our hook from bottom to top after we did that yarn over for the double crochet portion, and pull up a loop, and here's our 4 loops on the hook now. So we'll yarn over and pull through the first 2, and yarn over and pull through the last 3. So now we have our first 3 stitches in row 3, just like on our chart. The next 3 stitches are single crochet. So those are worked in the back loop, and we'll do those 3, and then we'll look at our chart again. Let's move these over a little bit, and here we have our chart. Okay, so we have our anchored double crochet, our single crochet, our anchored double crochet, and 3 single crochets. Now the chart will repeat the anchored double crochet and 3 single crochets 2 more times, as you can see right here. Then we will end with an anchored double crochet. So I'll go ahead and work this extra anchored double crochet and 3 single crochets 2 times, and I'll meet you at the end for that last anchored double crochet. So here I am at the end of row 3, and we're ready for our last anchored double crochet. Now I like to do it the same as the first one of the row, and I like to go under both loops to make it stronger. So we'll start the anchored portion, inserting our hook under both loops and pulling up a loop. Then we'll do the double crochet portion of yarn over, insert our hook in that last loop, the front loop of the last stitch, and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 3. And then we're ready to finish off this row. So here's that row, and it looks like row 3 with our anchored double crochets here, 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 and here, with our single crochets in between. And all of these are on the right side. Okay, now we are ready to move on to row 4. And as you can see on our chart, row 4 is done with the contrasting color, so that's the light color. And the first stitch is going to be a single crochet in the row color. So we're going to start the same as before with a slip knot on our hook. And we will work a single crochet in the back loop only of our first stitch. All single crochets are in the back loop only. Now our next stitch on row 4 is going to be an anchored double crochet in our contrasting color, which is what we're using. So since it's not the first anchored double crochet of the row, we're going to work it in the back loop of the next stitch to start the anchored portion, and then in the front loop of the stitch in the row below the previous one. So we're always working our light color into our light colored rows on these anchored double crochets. So we'll start that with a yarn over, insert our hook from bottom to top in that front loop, and pull up a loop. And we have our 4 loops on the hook. We'll yarn over and pull through the first 2, and yarn over and pull through the last 3. Now let's look at our chart again, and what's next is going to be 3 single crochets. Then that'll be followed by an anchored double crochet and 3 single crochets, an anchored double crochet, and 3 single crochets. So we're doing similarly to what we were in row 3, but we've shifted over to the right 1 stitch on each of these. So we'll go ahead and do our 3 single crochets next. Each of those is worked in the back loop only, because we want to leave those front loops available for more anchored double crochets in subsequent rows. So after our 3 single crochets, we'll finish this row across with an anchored double crochet in the next stitch, followed by 3 single crochets, and another anchored double crochet followed by 3 single crochets, and I'll meet you when we get to the last 2 stitches. Okay, here I am worked across the rest of row 3 to the last 2 stitches, and if you're at those last 2 stitches, we're going to refer to our chart, and we're going to do an anchored double crochet in the next one and then a single crochet in the last one. So our anchored double crochet is worked in the back loop again of the next stitch and the front loop of the stitch in the row below. We have our 4 loops, yarn over and pull through 2 and yarn over and pull through 3, and then our last stitch is that single crochet. And then we finish off. And here's the first 4 rows, which look identical to the chart. We've got our anchored double crochets coming down in our dark colors and our light color, and you can see that this makes a vertical line over top of the horizontal line of the other color. So this is how our mosaic crochet is worked. As you can see, I've finished my swatch through the magic of videos, and I've done all 9 rows in the chart. Now, if you're following along with me and you've already done your first 4 rows, you can work the rest of the rows per the chart. I've shown you how to start a dark row with an anchored double crochet and end it with an anchored double crochet, and how to work the anchored double crochets and the single crochets across each row. And I've shown you how to start and end with the single crochets on the contrasting colored rows. The reason I like to start these rows with anchored double crochets on the dark colors is so I have dark going all the way around, and I think that frames it nicely. Now, if you're doing a mosaic crochet pattern and you have a larger chart, I would strongly suggest getting a magnet board if you don't have one, because then you can follow along on the chart with your magnet, and you can place your magnet above or below the row that you're working on. I like to put mine above the row so I can actually follow it across, because some charts are going to be much longer than this and you want to have a way to keep your place going across. You could even use a marker if it's an extra copy and mark off the stitches that you've worked, if that helps you keep your place on the chart. Now, this pattern for this swatch only contains the chart, because this is a free pattern from my website just with the chart. But if you purchase any of my other mosaic crochet patterns, they come with written instructions and a chart. Some other designers may include just a chart or just written instructions, but mine have both. Here's a tip for how to add fringe to your mosaic crochet scarf. You're going to cut a long strand of yarn, double the length that you want your fringe plus a little extra. You're going to fold it in half. Now, I like to match my fringe color with my row colors. So when we started this, you remember that we had a foundation row separate from row 1. So we're going to have 2 strands of the dark color on this row. To insert our fringe, we're going to insert our hook from back to front around 1 or 2 strands on the edge of that row. We'll take our long strand of yarn, fold it in half, and put the fold over our hook and pull it through to the other side. Now we're going to use these 2 strands from our strand that we just cut, plus we're going to use the 2 strands from the foundation chain and row 1 in that fringe as well. So we're going to put all 4 of these strands through the fold and pull them through. Now we have to find the strands that we just added and pull those tight, and we adjust the ends from our rows and that strand, and we have our first fringe. Let me show you how to add the next fringe because we only have one strand on the other rows. So we're going to do the same thing and fold our long strand in half, matching the row color. Insert our hook from back to front, put that fold over it, pull it to the back, and grab our row end as well as those two strands from our new strand that we folded in half. Pull those through that fold and adjust that as well. And we want to try to adjust that evenly so that we don't end up with a short strand and a long strand. And we just do that all the way up one side of our scarf and all the way down the other side of our scarf, always matching the ends. Then when we're all done, as long as our yarn isn't too kinky and is straight, we can trim our fringe to length. Now if your yarn is kinky, what I've found is using a steam iron and smoothing it out will help to get it straightened out before I trim it off to the length I want. So that's how to add fringe to your Mosaic Crochet scarves. I hope you've enjoyed this video on the Overlay Mosaic Crochet technique and that you've been able to follow along with me. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them in the comments section below and I'd be happy to answer them for you. If you've been successful with your Mosaic Crochet through watching this video, I'd love to hear your success stories as well. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more of my Mosaic Crochet videos, including some proprietary techniques that I've come up with, please subscribe to my channel. Thanks so much for watching and happy Mosaic crocheting to all of you. Section below and I'd be happy to answer them for you. And if you'd like to subscribe to my channel let's start that one over. If you didn't